First time in a long time I actually am on Eastern time. Last night, and really saw what a couple extra hours in the morning can do for you. So maybe I'll come to Baltimore more often. With that said, I'm so honored today to have Rita Wirtz with us again, and Kelly is just an anchor here, and just we were just talking prior to the show how much all of us are growing and admiring how other people are evolving and growing, which really justifies community, collaboration, support. We can rise so high together relative to, on our own. And with that said, today's word is intention. We've had some really great words. Yesterday, Mike was unbelievable, kind of joined
Yes.
together, and the response was off the charts.
Yeah.
I know. It was great.
I mean, I didn't realize there were 200 more comments when I thought I had gone through almost all of them. And it's just nice when conversations are happening within conversations and people are reaching out to other people, because what we're trying to create is proactivity, taking initiative, reaching out with what's in front of you, and asking yourself, why don't I engage? When you don't have anything to engage or don't know how to, you got two good excuses. But when someone shows up, and not only shows up, but tells their story to you,
Yeah.
how much, you can't get better than that. So with that said, Rita, why don't you share a little bit of yourself and how you have changed over time with now being, I believe, the second or third time appearing?
Third.
Third.
Third's charm.
Third's a charm.
Love it.
Hi, everybody. If I haven't met you, I'm Rita Wirtz, 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 and I live in Eugene, Oregon. I'm a nana, a parent, an educator, a teacher. I've been a principal, author, writer, keynote speaker. I've done all kinds of things in the field of education and out. And it's really a pleasure to be here with you if I haven't met you before. Hello, it's really great meeting you. And to be on with Kelly, I'm honored. And I don't know what to say about Donald other than I guess it's time for me to put my hat on, Donald. There we go. I always attempt to match you.
Love it.
Very stylish.
Oh, wow.
I know.
I should get another hat.
Yes. I
It's
love that.
Yeah, that's the best one yet.
It's like, do you like my hat from Go Dogs Go? Do you like my hat? Yes, it's a party hat. Okay, so I'm going to start off then. I'm going to kick this off about intention. Intention is about everything. So for me in my life, intention is always starting with a big vision. But when I'm working with groups and teams and I'm on the team, it's not my vision. It's not my team. It's not mine. I don't have that kind of ownership. It's our team. It's our, not me, but our. So the vision really can't just be my vision, but in my own self, in my own way, I do have a vision where I'm going always in my life. For a team, when we're talking about intention and starting with a vision, it needs to be a shared vision, horizontal leadership, not vertical coming top down, because personally, I don't believe people buy in. This is personal, but I don't believe people buy in. Now, if I have a reason or a need to do something or learn something, then I'm going to do it. So if you want to call buy-in with that. But the bottom line is, for intention, first I start with vision, and it should be our shared vision. But again, I have my own vision where I think I'm going. Then we need to observe with intention. So whatever is going on around us, whether it's with our family, our friends, the larger community, and the community of the world, we need to observe with intention, really pay attention. And the third one I want to mention then, beside that, big intention, way out there, where are we going? Observing people with intention, and then listening with intention, right? Say it with me, right? Listen.
Listen.
Intention. So that's what I think about intention and intentionality. This is our box. We can choose to stay in the same box or we can get out of that box. But we have to have a framework for our life and the intention that drives our purpose and our passion.
Yes.
See?
Good grief. I could not have said it better myself, Rita. That was awesome. The part I definitely love from a business standpoint, and
Uh-huh.
I've said this many a times, I've always been a manager or, managed with the style of empathy and compassion, which of
Yes.
course is an intention. And that is intentionally, being present in the moment with
Yes.
whoever it is that you're speaking with. Or you're listening to
Yeah.
listening and this is one of those lessons I think most of us would go back to our younger self and be like, just shut up and listen sometimes, especially in the business world, because we think our value is in if I say something profound right here, I'm going to get be like, yeah, she gets it. Um,
Mhm.
but you're sitting there usually calculating what you're going to say or when you're going to drop it in, as opposed to actually listening to what's going on around you. You miss so much.
Yes.
So for me, I mean, it is funny now. I'm doing all these LinkedIn lives, and I have a
Yeah.
microphone in front of me, so I talk all the time. But I get to listen to so many people in a different way, and it is powerful to listen. And I kind of jokingly said this morning when we first got on before we went live, I said, "Well, my intention was to do my hair before we got before we went live this morning, but it didn't happen." Because an intention is one of those
Right.
things. And I'm currently in the process of moving, which is, it's no fun, but I'm trying to make it as fun as possible. But my intention, an intention is just a plan to do something. Our intent is to do something, and it's still an intention whether we complete it or not. And I think another intention that I focus on quite often is my intention of giving myself grace. Um,
Um,
because when we intend to do these things, and like you said, I love the vision and long-term things. You've got to see where you want to go, whether it is in your personal life or in your business world. And I agree with you. People will not buy into that vertical of leadership. It's got to be, and they've got to
right.
believe in the vision to see it themselves to go towards it.
Yes.
But I think
Yes.
sometimes we can get in a place, and this is part of social media, which exemplifies it, is our comparison to others. Oh gosh, why aren't I that far in my vision yet? And then we start judging ourselves. And so the intention of giving yourself grace, I think, is just one of those important things to be like, you know what, I moved forward. I didn't go as far as I wanted today, but I went somewhere, and I'm good with that. So Don, what are your thoughts on all of that?
Well, I think they're all beautiful thoughts, and I believe intention is where you begin
Yes.
Mhm.
with your plan,
Yes.
right? You start with what is your purpose?
Yep.
Right.
That's kind of a lot to do with intention. Is if you have, they say if you have a strong enough why, you'll figure out the how to,
Yes. Yes.
right? So you start with the why, which should create the vision, but also I think it has to go deeper to stay longer and to mean more.
Right.
Mhm.
Is you've got to ask yourself, along with your intention and commitment, what is your commitment?
Yes.
Yeah.
And in situations, I've just had to say, whatever it takes. And
Yeah.
it won't get me into a courtroom or a hospital. I'm willing to do whatever I can, but it's not so much difficulty or struggle because most people create that.
Yes.
They create an intention that's lovely, but they give themselves a time frame that's unreasonable,
Mhm.
Right.
right? They say I got to do it in this time instead of why. You don't even know what you're doing
Yeah.
or what it is to do it. So why not just let it roll? I
Yes.
think a show like this
Yes.
has been totally organic. If it was already
Mhm.
preconceived and saying here's what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, who we're going to do it with, what happens the first day you do it
Mm.
and you see something else?
Yeah.
Why do you lock in?
Yeah.
And then by locking in, you force yourself to stay in in an uncomfortable situation because that's where you're stressing. You know, we talk about failure so much on this show, and I don't understand why.
Thank you.
I don't understand why people say, "I failed. I'm a failure,"
Yeah,
you know, because that's what they're saying. "I'm dealing with failure." Well, you know, in essence, you're not dealing with it well because you don't have to.
Right.
You know, you could let it go and deal with what's your now intention,
right,
right? And I think that's where it's purposeful,
right.
but also where you build the fire, you load the tank,
Mhm.
right, for the journey. And after that, it becomes fun because you're committed, you're full in, and instead
Yeah,
of doing more of other things, do more of the same thing better with more
Yeah.
people. You know, what I learned from yesterday's show is you want to bring as many communities together as often as you can,
yes.
right? You visit our facility, we visit yours, all your people are welcome here, we're welcome there, right? And all of a sudden now you've just doubled. I mean, just having 3 people on the show has tripled the attractiveness of it because everybody's attracted to something else or someone else.
Mhm.
And why
Mm,
not always give them the choices? And instead of having 3, there's probably 20 shows, you know, and the more successful people are, the more they soften the market for everybody else,
mm,
right? So, anyways, got into intention, but just want to share that the only thing you really got to know is intend to do a little bit more every day
yes.
for yourself and others.
Mhm.
Right? If that's your only intention, treat yourself a little kinder
Yeah.
and be a little kinder and do it every day, right? So what's your thoughts, Rita?
Well, I want to go back to that idea of active listening. Listen and silent have the
Yeah.
same letters. Did you ever think about that? And that tells us something. But I'm going to go back to the acronyms. I know I am a weirdo. I admit it. And I've been a maverick, a trailblazer, and a badass my whole life,
Love it.
always taking on what no one else would do because I was never afraid of failure because I don't believe in failure at all.
Love it.
I believe that there's only feedback.
Yes.
And if I do this and it didn't work and I keep doing it, you know what we say, same thing, same results from
Right.
NLP, neurolinguistics. So we know that there has to be a point where we do make a decision. Do we hang in? Do we give up? Do we move on? And is it easier or harder? And I don't like words like harder, but what's the best way for us? Do we stay with what we're doing, or what kind of changes could we make? If we can't do it this way, can we do it this way? And come around like you do sometimes with tech, you figure your way in. So I want to make that point while we're talking about intention. I'd like to take the word failure out completely.
Mhm.
And as an educator, and I'm still on Twitter a lot, and I hear stuff all the time about teaching kids how to fail. And they need to learn how to fail. They don't need to learn how to fail. It's going to happen if
Mhm.
that's what we want to call it. The second thing is I've taken the word struggle out, and I don't like productive struggle. That's me. What happened to me as a reading person, I found that I was also doing seminars around the country with titles about helping struggling readers. So I took that out too. I don't call anything struggling. Instead, we have at promise readers. We have scholars in waiting. That kid at the back is always the one who gets my fullest attention because that's always the kid who needs us the most and asks for it in the most unloving ways. So in my life, it has always been about intention. And I've taken out, there's no failure, there's no struggle. When we use words like, oh, I know this is hard, class, but you can do it. Well, that's really already my brain is going right to the word hard, that predicate. So I want to use action verbs all the time that are positive. Words make a difference. I recently wrote a blog about the darn acronyms and the ones that bothered teachers the most, and I'll just share a couple of them because it's for all of us. One was rigor. People don't want to hear any more about rigor and how rigorous it has to be. That doesn't mean that it's necessarily good what we're doing just because it's rigorous. So when we're talking about intention, does rigor want to come in there? The next is teachers really hate the word fidelity as a surveyed group, which meant that they had to have full fidelity to scripted programs when they may like it or they may not. But teachers need autonomy right now, and they need to have their intentions listened to. They need to come to the table. So when we look at the word intention, it's big, but it's really small. But I encourage us, if nothing else, from my coming on at the last minute today, I think I was supposed to be here with you too, because I agree with everything you're saying, and I'm not able to see the audience stuff right now because if I keep looking over, then I'll knock over my water. The bottom line is this: your intention doesn't have to be the same as me. But I think we need to communicate a lot better with each other and accept that we all have our own intention. But as a collective people, it's time to get together and make some of these things a shared intention, but only with positives. We have to stop the negative, whether it's self talk or what we're putting out there. And please, I beg you guys to help me in this. Stop talking about failure. Focus on success. Success. That's the way we spell success. And there you go.
Oh my
Sounds
God.
very sensible. Kelly, you got a great lead in.
I mean, honestly, I could not love you more. I just, I totally agree with everything that you just said, and ending with the cheer. Like, I mean, please, I can't even help myself with that. I made a post today that says "fail first attempt in learning," because I feel, and that's something I've learned over my lifetime for sure. And in dealing with people and having hard conversations, it's all about the choice words that you have.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a negative conversation unless we make it negative, and how we interpret those things. And I shared before, I was lucky enough to have a mentor early in my career that he celebrated when I thought I had failed, because he said, that's how I know you're pushing the limits and pushing the
Right.
boundaries, and you're trying to do something new. And he's like, keep doing it. And I was like, kind of, that's not the response I expected. So it helped
Right.
shape what I thought failure looked like, because you're so right. Society wants us to think negative about everything. We all
Yes.
somehow have that, I'm not good enough voice in our brain that we gain over time. And the more negativity that comes in, the more it feeds that, inner voice in our brain that says,
Yeah.
"I'm not good enough." And it's like, twist that around. I mean, I love everything that you just said, and not using those words, because harder, of course, makes it go like, oh, like, I'm not gonna be able to do that. It's almost like immediate defeat when we hear certain
Yes.
words.
Mhm.
So I love everything about that, because I am all about positivity, obviously, and just think, again, it's just all about how we even speak to ourselves. And I know this is something else I've said before too. I had an employee many years ago, and he had the worst self-talk of any human I've met truly in my life. And I always wanted to meet his parents, because I just wanted to be like, man, what happened with this poor kid? But one of the things I said to him is, what if somebody you loved, if you
Mhm.
saw somebody you loved being spoken to by someone else with your self-talk, like if that was actually a person talking to someone else you love, what would you do? And he was like,
Mhm.
well, I would, beep, 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 beat 'em up. And I
Yeah.
said, so why is that okay for you? And it was kind of like one of those, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's beautiful what you're saying too about the world needs more of this all the way around. The hour of empower,
Yes.
supporting each other. You're right. I love people who have different intentions than I do. I learn from them.
Mhm.
Like, oh my God, I never even thought of that. and accepting it that it's different. I mean, I love that you, what did you, I don't know if you called yourself a weirdo.
Oh, yes,
You,
absolutely.
yeah. And I always refer to myself as like, I'm just a big nerd and I know it. Like I'm such a geek or whatever. But I
Yeah.
say that to myself in a playful way, not
Yes.
as a put down, because I'm like, we're all unique. Own that. But be there and supporting each other. I
Right.
just, and the other word that you touched on, struggle, where that keyed in me was, I'm like, gosh, I know people who, and I've had part of this in my past after a tragedy in my life where I chose struggle for a while,
Mhm.
um, because I was in so much pain, and we tend to choose
Uh,
to keep
yeah,
that because I didn't know how to heal it. And
yeah.
so I think it's interesting to remove that word too. I mean, what great small takeaways for
Mm,
anyone that listens to this, because those
mhm.
small things make such a huge difference. And so those are my thoughts for now. Dawn, do we need to start maybe highlighting some folks in the audience here?
Yes.
For sure, for sure. I mean, Paul's here. I mentioned to everybody I was fortunate enough to visit Paul and Lachelle's audio event today about the 10 scrolls. And, I saw Dean there and 6 or 7 other regulars of the Hour of Empower there. And it's great because two things: education is always continuing.
That's right.
And if something's good, it should be seen, but more importantly, it should be promoted. People have to get out of themselves and into others and with others, right? To be more of themselves. There's too much of you for you. It needs to be shared. And there's too much you need that you will never be able to get fast enough or in the way you need it by yourself. And why would you? That's the whole point. If you get rid of struggle, get rid of what creates struggle for you.
Mhm.
Yes.
You don't have enough time.
Mhm.
Bring someone in and share something that you have more of. And that's what collaboration is
Yeah.
about. So,
Mhm.
what I see is more people doing more with more people, not trying to be more overnight themselves.
Okay.
Accept yourself for who you are, what you are, where you are, and that's where you begin. And that's the key to intention
Yes.
is we're starting at the beginning with
Mhm.
ourselves and others. And the beauty of that, you can be the best you to the new person that's never known or met you,
Yeah.
Mhm.
right? They'll give you a free pass to change into whatever you feel is your best
Mhm.
person. Let's say over all these years, what can you cobble together to show up? And I think what's so important in that distinction is too many people get people at the end of something and they try
Mhm.
to fix them, right?
Yes.
Yes.
After they've already hit wherever they are. Instead of starting at the beginning with people who
Yeah.
want to start at the beginning. And that way there is no legacy. There is nothing to fix, right? What's over is done. It's in the books, good or bad, it's done. To continue to take it forward is to give life to something that's already had its life,
Mhm.
right? And needs to make room for what your new beginning is. Because
Mhm.
the after picture takes time to develop. Everybody sees the before, and you got to give yourself the time, and that's an intention. So, an intention is not just a mission or an action.
No.
I intend to eat better today. I intend to exercise a little more. I intend to monitor my time for a day. If you want to be in control, you got to take control, right?
Mhm.
You got to push the gears. You got to hit the accelerator. It's like driving a car. You got to be synchronized. You got to be with what it is. Again, objects are so much easier to control than yourself or other people. But meanwhile, people preoccupy themselves with objects, right?
Mhm.
With awards, with possession, you
Yeah.
know. And meanwhile, how healthy are they? How happy are they? And what does that tell you? Some of the greatest people on earth survived without anything, gave everything away every time they got it. And what happened? They became greater. It's your gifts that define you, not what you accept, you know? And I think, again, to what Rita was saying, if we just turn things on the other side for a while,
Right.
if you're making
Mhm.
omelet, eventually you got to flip it, right? Or one side's going to get cooked, another side.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I'm
we're talking about future pacing, really, from again from NLP neurolinguistics. Some years ago, instead of getting my doctorate, I went to school for a year and became a hypnotist and an NLP practitioner. I thought that was more useful at the time, and it really was. And a lot of what I learned has stayed today. So while we're talking about intention, we're also talking about how do we get rapport with people. And again, whose intention are we talking about? If I'm with someone and I'm not really listening with intention or paying attention, then I'm missing everything
Mm.
because it's not about me. And when you get to the point where taking care of others and being servant leaders is more than what we were alone, we'll always get more
Yeah.
by giving. It's better to be a giver for me than receive. It's hard for me to receive, really. So that's probably a growth area that I just thought about while we do this. Yeah, I
there's
wish
two
I was
pieces.
perfect. I've had a lot of practice, but I'm not there yet. So,
Well, well,
that
well,
vision that, the future pacing, that's what we're talking about. We are reframing is the word.
Mhm.
Reframe, do it again. So when we reframe this, we have a better idea, and then that takes out that struggle. It's hard. It's way too much. I'm overwhelmed. I can't do it. I don't know how to prioritize, and so on.
Yeah.
My
I
turn.
so true. I will just say because of when you were saying some of that, I was like, moving as an example, like,
Yes.
it's such a great example.
Mhm.
I can tend to, like, because of course your place looks a disaster for a
Yeah.
period of time, and I do not like clutter and a mess. Um, and so I have that thing where I can have a minute of where I'm overwhelmed, like,
Yeah.
I don't even know where to start with all of
Right,
this.
right.
But then it's like, okay, just sit down. We're going to start right here and do one, practice what I preach.
Yeah.
You can't eat the elephant all at one time, just do a little bit and you move through it. But I'm also aware of when I'm triggered and I pay attention to what triggers me. And it is funny
Mhm.
because disarray and chaos
Yes.
definitely is a trigger for me. Um, and not it only takes me a few minutes because 'cause I'll be like, "Okay, relax and let's get a plan in place." So my intention is now to start this, and I think, earlier about saying about grace, like I wanted to my intention yesterday was to do XYZ.
Yeah.
Well, I only finished X, Y, and part of Z, but giving myself the grace of, "Good job, way to go, you did it." You moved through this part where you in the beginning of it, felt like a little overwhelmed. So it's like, and it'll be there tomorrow. It's not going anywhere. So I think that all plays in. But I just I feel Rita like you are my spirit animal in some way. And
I think
I
we
really do look forward to having conversation with you
Mhm.
offline for so
Too.
many different reasons, for sure. But Dawn, I do think we probably need to highlight some
oh, for sure. No, I'm going to get right into it now. I was prepared. So Christine's here.
Hey,
I don't even have to introduce people. You know them already for who they
so
are.
great.
And it's great to see you. Hi, all off to work and school day. So happy for the book. And it's nice to be happy and
Yeah.
happier, be happy and happier people every day. Even today, when I was watching, and I'll mention Paul because that's who I'll be talking about. Um, when I was watching Paul and Lachelle's show, I saw Dean there. I saw Constance. I don't know, and Constance is coming on the show. I just had a call with her because she visited the shows we've been having, and everybody visits. I want to know who they are and I want to learn from them. I'm more a student whenever I can than a teacher, because that's, hearing yourself tell yourself what you already know. It doesn't do much,
Yeah.
right? So anyways, uh, I look at, to Kelly's point, I'm always coming up short, but that's okay because I'm trying to do more than I can, and I accept when I did what I can,
That's right.
right? I'd rather shoot high and get whatever I got
Yes.
and feel I'm fortunate to get what I got,
Yeah.
That's right.
not unfortunate to get what I and there's tomorrow, but here's the
Mm,
beauty of it. You can follow yourself
mm,
or you can follow others,
yeah.
right? And anytime you see a crowd, you naturally think, I mean, if there's a great restaurant and there's people waiting in line to get in, you feel like you should wait in line to get in because it must be so good
Right.
you're waiting in line. And across the street, there's a restaurant with nobody in the parking lot, but have the best food in town. But you're going to walk in thinking, why am I the only one here? So, how that relates is if you like Dean and you like Lachelle and you like Paul, see what they're doing, support what they're
Mhm.
doing. They're going to naturally bring you in and bring you up with them.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
I would rather be part of 20 people doing something really cool together and be 5% of it and learning from 19 other people
Mhm.
and helping those 19 be successful and allowing those to make you more successful.
Mhm.
And then you find another 20, maybe you find another 200 because the message we're sharing comes down to positivity,
Yes.
optimism, constructive encouragement. That's why I don't get into politics. I don't get into religion. I don't get into any of that. And it's only because there's nothing an hour is going to do to solve any of it
Right.
that's going to make anybody different, but it will make people different in different ways. And what you want to do, and just because words do matter,
That's right.
right, is you got to measure your words very
That's
carefully
right.
so that it's easily for anybody to hear it, accept it, and work with it.
Mhm.
Right? Anytime you set yourself apart, you've just taken a whole group of people
Yeah.
away. And
Mhm.
what's tragic about that is it's not just the people, it's their network,
Right.
Yep.
right? And they're going to broadcast their
Mhm.
feelings if everybody's honest
Yes, yes.
and say, this is what I did and this is what happened to
Right.
me. And that's the story, right? And you don't want to have a counter story to a story because then you're getting totally away from now with who you're with. Stephen Stills had a song, if you don't can't love the one you
That's
want, love the one
right,
you
right,
you
right.
know. And I think that's so important because people have love muscles, giving muscles.
Mhm.
We should exercise that. Most of the time we're sitting by ourselves thinking, what do I do next? How do I do it? When do I do it? Here's my calendar, right?
Mhm.
And instead of saying, "Hey, let's just go with the flow," and I think that's where failure disappears.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Is, "Hey, I'm happy just to be alive. I'm happy just to have what I have."
Every day,
Right?
every day.
That's right. And if that's all there is, I know so many people who would love to switch,
Yeah.
you know, who would love to be in that position. So I think when you start humble, start modest, start with love and good intention, and people know your intention, and that's the value to a higher intention. Is people forget about you? They say, "Well, that's their." I connect them with their intention, right? This person is going to
Very
save
right.
all these people. This person is going to invent some drug that's going to save so many people, and that was enough. So, anyways, let's we gotta talk. We gotta introduce these
Yes.
people. Unless we do another show just for introductions of this show. Hats off to you. I should get a sponsor in Stetson
I
or
know, right?
something. Active listening by Christy.
Mhm.
Such a great person and a wonderful person. And actually, Christy's going to be here
Yep.
tomorrow with
Harvey.
Harvey Tuck.
Yeah.
So, yeah, great guy.
Yeah.
He's making the circuit. I just love people like Kofi's making the
Yeah.
circuit. Uh, Susanna's making the circuit. She's everywhere, and getting, people encouraged. And that's what we're about, helping other people help other people,
Yes.
right? And you shouldn't discriminate
Yeah.
or favor anybody based on anything except for what are they doing? How are they doing it? And are they people who can carry this positive
Yeah.
message? Because you don't want to break the link. You know, you don't want
No.
to stop the flow when it's going. Paul's here. Uh, Chastity's here quite a bit. She's a good friend of Gretchen. Leslie is going to be here Saturday. There is tension and intention, you know, and it's little thoughts like that, little insights that can go quite a long way. Paul says, "My intention every day is to learn something new and impact at least one person." Got to 30 that this morning. I'm so grateful. You know, you almost have to look at it like, you know, like a bowling game. How many pins did you knock down today? Right? On the other side, how many people did you support? How many people are going to start reading Agmandino stuff or may
Yes.
never
Right,
even known about,
right.
you know, until somebody introduced it. Um, I don't know what that means, but I'm sure coming from Paul is always a good intention. I think it's a lazy word because it's filler for real problems. Many people don't want to admit to themselves. Paul comes back with everything in life is relative and all about perception.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
can rewire our brain by our thoughts, conversations, and
Yeah.
action.
Yes.
Uh, Here we go. So weird and nerd. Maybe I finally found where I belong.
Yes.
Well, you did because you know celebrating differences
Uh-huh.
is celebrating something that typically isn't celebrated,
Right.
right? Almost what we're talking about is doing the opposite of what the conventional wisdom out
Right.
there is or the crowd,
Well, is
right?
it working? What we're seeing out there in the din, is it working? Do
No.
we have
Well,
a ways to go? Yes.
well, you know, and it's only going to uh, multiply if
Yeah.
there isn't another open road, right?
Mhm.
Where you can be free again, where you can be happy again. You know, I mean, you go on. I remember being in Florida so many times, and people wouldn't pay money for the turnpike, right? And meanwhile, the other road was always, and you could go faster at that time. You know, the other road was always crowded, under construction. I think it was 95 or whatever it was. And I just thought, why don't people invest a little to save a lot? Why don't they invest in themselves first? I mean, people will buy stocks and companies. They don't even know what they do or who they are,
Right.
you know, or crypto or whatever it is, right? Why don't you put your money with yourself?
Mhm.
Why don't you put your time with yourself? Be the better person, and that's I think is key. Here's a gentleman, very true about surviving with things. Dean, what a great guy. And I got to tell you, Dean, you're everywhere too, you
Yes.
know? And if you could be on 6, 7 shows listening and participating every day, how rich is that? You
Mhm.
know, this is the best education you're going to get because you're getting 40 life teachers or more just on the show who really care about you. I mean, you know, when I used to have my own company and I drive into the parking lot, I would always look at whose car was there. And there were certain cars I really wanted to see, especially if it was a snowy day, you know, I really cared about. And other cars were, hey, if they make it, they make it. But or maybe not. But Anne says, and Anne's a great lady, and she's out in England. A great leveler is no matter how rich people are, there are no pockets and shrouds. Treasured memories are the best legacy is to leave our loved ones. And that's so true. And I know Kelly and Rita and everybody will realize what we're doing today are going to help a lot of people hopefully here, but they're going to help even more people we'll never see, never know from future uh, people seeing this, sharing it. And more importantly, you leave something for your family and friends,
Mhm.
right? How many times wouldn't you like 40 hours with your grandfather talking really cool stuff with cool people,
Yes.
you know? And I think this provides that opportunity. Must be Roxanne. Moving now, that's something I could write a book on. I got it down to science. After 18 moves in 40 years, we did flipping before it was a thing on HGTV. Keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. Dean, you're an inspiration.
He
The
is.
quality of the intention is directly associated to not just the desired outcome, but how long it takes to be constructed out of the very substance around us as controlled and incrementally built by the intention in our mind.
Wow.
That's pretty heavy
Yeah.
and it's really
Awesome.
condensed. I mean, you got a lot of good stuff in a very short couple sentences.
Mhm.
And I think that's important. People really think about what they're saying here.
Mhm.
And when they share something, it's something thought through and it's a part of them. Intention is like the process of tuning for a specific frequency in the energy matrix of life. It can either be fixed or bounce all over the place, which
Mhm.
then means no one particular broadcast would be received and so no specific benefit.
Hmm.
Nicole, un- unbelievable story, international best-selling author now, that came out of having a terrible elevator accident that forced her to be confined pretty much for like a long time and using that time to reinvent herself and tell her story. And sometimes the worst stories are the best stories
Mm.
to build from, right? They're the best befores. And it can motivate you to get a better after. Paul, Nicole, great seeing you again, my friend. Thank you for your support today. Yeah, Nicole was on the show. I was mentioning Constance was on the show. Leyland, wonderful lady. I mean, she's got PhDs everywhere. She told me nobody would hire her. She stopped taking the PhD off. She had to lie the other way to try and get promoted because everybody thought she was too smart. Unbelievable. She actually we talked. I got on her show next week. She's coming on my show in 2 weeks. I mean, this is one, two, three, boom. You know. Thanks for your insight, Rita. Valued indeed. Nicole says thanks. Says absolutely, Paul. I enjoyed it tremendously, but could not jump in as I'm listening from work. Uh, We've got thanks for the perspective too, Kelly. Deeply enlightened. Dennis, who was having a little trouble getting in, but he got in. I agree. I'm in the Business Networking Institute chapter here in Denver, and we meet weekly. Makes us stronger. The slogan is "Givers Gain."
Yes.
There is 90 of us action partners in Denver. My company, which I started in 1975, is about savingheat.com.
Mm.
Well, good to see you, Dennis, and good to see you keep jumping on things and collaborating with
Mhm.
people because this isn't work if you really got the right intention and
Mhm.
if you serve yourself because what would you be doing this hour that was different or better? There's still 23 other hours, right? And it's really prioritizing what does the most for you, and put yourself first because most of the time you know exactly what you need more than anybody else, and you're probably the only person who could provide for it. Get yourself ready and then take everything you got to the world, to everybody in the world. Love that, Anne. Dean. Dean's got to get on a show or do a
Yeah.
show. Everybody, everybody's got a beautiful story, and everybody who's in the audience should be on the stage, right? Because everybody in the audience will support you, knowing how much you've supported so many other people. Linda's here, another great lady.
Mhm.
Uh, we're going to have to get her on. I mean, and I tell everybody in our audience if you want to come on the show, just reach out to me and message me, and we'll have a call. It's just that simple.
Mhm.
This was a long one. Never make it. Hopefully, we covered that. I guess Rita, what's your thoughts on the audience, the participation, the word intention?
Well, I'd like to go back to the fact that this was my 3rd time, actually on the show itself, and my words were legacy, commitment, and now I went to intention. So this really all goes together because you have to have some intention of where you wanna go with your life, and what do you wanna leave behind, as we are all servant leaders, and we're all helpers, and we're all giving. But that collective energy is even better. And so if we can, as a collective people, come together and have our intention and recognize our differences make us stronger, and then also focus. someone wrote something and had focus, and I had meant to talk about that and had left it out. So focus is clearly important because there are so many distractions all around us. And the din is so loud
Yeah.
that we have to be able to turn it off, tone it down. And when people are up here, I need to be here to be able to get it to come together. The more I would go over the top or yell or scream or whatever, that's not going to do any good. And that's what's happening now. So intention is also a big global issue as well, whether we're talking about climate issues or anything else. It is imperative. We are at a defining moment. I believe that. And I do believe that people are ready to come together and make a huge change. Generally, I say the only one who likes change is a wet baby. But I'm seeing now that a lot of people are seeing that there are some needed changes for us as a country and a world. And we are not that different. We are more because we're all human and we're all people that can come together and figure out some ways forward that will be positive. But intention does go with commitment. And ultimately, what legacy, Matt Allen, are we looking at for all of us as a human community in the world? And I want to hear birds singing. Where'd all the birds go?
Yes, I mean,
Yeah.
the whole thing when, there's so much noise around us. I mean, and
Yes.
that's how I refer to it, and
Mhm.
whenever I notice myself getting sucked into any of that,
Yes.
I know to take a step back. Like, I've gotta take a step back and get back into get back here, and I think that's part of the thing, Rita, for
Mhm.
me with
Mhm.
why I did this show and started to doing it because it very organically came to be,
Mhm.
and it wasn't just about, because quite honestly, I didn't wanna be on camera, because I was a little fearful of what people were gonna say, and because of my life experience, I had some things that I was like, "I don't really know that I wanna be on camera," but after doing it and seeing what this is, I don't even wanna say what was because it's continuing just to organically do its thing,
Yeah.
is I was like, "You know what the beauty of this is?" And Don and I talk about this a lot, is I said, "People are coming from all over the world
Right.
and obviously have completely different paths that have brought them here,
Yes.
completely different intentions in their life, except for the intention to come to a place where it's community, they
Mhm.
feel supported, they feel safe, and they feel love." And I'm like, "That's what the world needs more of," and I
Yeah.
believe that's why people come back here. It's because they
Yes. Yes.
break from the noise. Like, I just want
Mhm.
true human connection, and, I mean, I have chills saying that just because I believe as well that that's what the world needs. We need to get back to our basic human instinct and just
Mhm.
connect with one another. I mean, it seems so simple, but I think that people are craving it. Um,
I do too.
I noticed that on other shows too. I go and I tune into, other people that, are on here as well, because
Mhm.
I wanna support them as much as I can because 'cause they've been gracious enough to also support me, but the same message is coming
Mhm.
across in all of
Yes.
those. So I just look and I'm like, it's the ripple effect, and
Mhm.
this is where I go back to, our Yoda of LinkedIn, Don Cohen.
Mhm. Yes.
He started this just with
Mhm.
no, I don't wanna say no goal because that's not really true, but it was like just he felt drawn to do something like this and was
Yes.
more motivated, and of course, you can speak for yourself, Don, by other people and
Mhm.
how they were responding, and
Mhm.
organically growing it based off of what he saw that people need and encouraging them. And I know I say this a lot too, because when we feel safe,
Yes.
secure, we are apt to do things that we didn't think we could do because we as human beings do need the support of our
Yeah.
community. And I think that's what we see here every day when we see people, Omar just had another show that he had on, and, Paul doing his, me starting mine. I mean, all of these things never would have happened
Mhm.
if it wasn't for this. And there
Mhm.
was an intention of what brought me here to even have the conversation with Don. My
Mhm.
intention was, hey, I am a woman of faith, and I was like, God, I just feel I'm not living loud enough in my purpose, for lack of a better
Mhm.
term. I mean, and how funny that I end up sitting in front of a microphone, but I just felt like I needed to be doing more. And the doing more is just connecting with
Mhm.
other human beings
Mhm.
truly, and sharing love and compassion, empathy, and listening. I mean, all of those things again, which is all just connection. So those are my thoughts right now. Don, what about you?
I think they're beautiful thoughts, and I think we weave a great
Yeah.
tale here, for people to really continue to
Mhm.
expand their thoughtfulness and consciousness by
Right.
all of this feedback, because it's almost like a mantra after a while. And I think, if we're going to favor something, why not favor the positive?
Yes.
Why not favor the optimism? If we're going to have to be the chooser
Right.
instead of the superficial,
Yes. Yes.
let's deal with the intention,
Mhm.
because a negative broadcast started with a negative intention,
Yep.
Mhm.
right? You
Mhm.
didn't go down one road and then find yourself somewhere else. You didn't transport something over there. And you know what I think? People are at a razor's edge of so much anger towards people they don't even know, and they don't even want to take the time to know.
Right.
And every issue is because of ignorance,
Mhm.
right? They were taught the wrong thing, or they didn't want to learn the right thing. And, right and wrong is, again, a judgment.
Mhm.
Right.
But the result is more people are stressed,
Right.
more people are angry, more people are frustrated, more people feel pressure, and they should.
Mhm.
Cost of living's going up, jobs are getting lost, but, mankind has been dealing with that since
Yeah.
mankind, right? If it wasn't the mastodon or the
Mhm.
fire or whatever, right?
Mhm.
And that's eventually, I do give credit to humanity that we do seem to wake up maybe just in time. And maybe it's going to take a leader to show up that everybody could feel comfortable with, whose message is one of love and kindness, and thoughtfulness. Because the reason I do things is because not only they're the best things, but they're the best things that work. And isn't that great to do what's best, what's right, and also find yourself even more successful because of it? I mean, why wouldn't you want to promote people? How much can you do? How much do you have to do? When people say, I'm so busy, and that used to happen when people used to say, well, would you like to have an opportunity to make money? And sometimes people would say, I've got more money than I'll ever spend.
Mhm.
And I said, well, start making money for someone who doesn't have any money,
Mhm.
right? So, keep working and give it away, right? Don't stop giving. Don't stop being. And that's where people retire. Some people retire at 20.
Mhm.
They've decided, I'm giving up. I don't care, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But what were the messages that they received during their life? Who were their teachers,
Mhm.
We're
right?
talking about modeling, really, ME model everything. So you better be modeling what you wanna see happen. I wanna go back to what Kelly, what you said, though, that really hit home, belonging. You didn't use the word, but you did
Yeah,
everything but that word, and so I wanted to tag team with you on that.
love it.
What Don has done and why I was so excited about seeing this is that people come here because there's a sense of belonging.
Mhm.
And, I know that we've all read recently I shouldn't say that. I think we've probably all read recently, as I've been reading, that there's an epidemic of loneliness in our country. And even the Surgeon General, a day or so ago, made a comment about, we needed to really work on loneliness. Also, the recent CDC report, and I'm not talking about pandemic here, but this is about an epidemic of kids having mental health issues.
Mm.
And so we really need to have an intention also to work with the young people in our country and around the world that have been so affected by their isolation that there's a lot of acting out behaviors in school, and there's a lot of disaffected, disengaged kids at school. So, as an educator, and we're all educators, we are all teachers one way or another. We need to also add in, as we're talking about our intention and hope for the whole world, that we need to take a look at our youth. And I'm not going to go through the statistics, but we've got a lot of kids who've been isolated as well, or still are fearful to go to school for various reasons. And so that has to be an intention, I think, that I need to add this morning. And I wasn't planning to. But while we're talking about us in this community of belonging, we also need to ensure that all of our children have a sense of community and belonging as well, whether that's whether they're homeschooled or they're at school. They've been isolated for too long, and that has to be one of our intentions as a collective people, to work with the young people on the issues of mental health. The issues of mental health are important for all of us, adults as well, because we've all had a tremendous amount of stress. And I know it's not just me. I know it can't just be me going to an appointment on the wrong day or the wrong time. I have good intention, but I'm like, oh my goodness, did I do that again?
Yeah.
So the distractedness from all this stuff, I don't know what to pay attention to right now. And my pile is so big. It's not just a teacher's place, it's all of us. I'm like, I don't know. How many passwords do I need to change today? How many more weeks is it going to take me to get my new computer set up? I have good intentions to do some things that I'm not ready to do yet, or I can't do yet. So we've gone in many directions on intention, but this is how I see it as we come together nearing the closure for this morning. Everybody's on a different road, and we do know that if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. We know that. We also know that where I am on this road and you are on this road, somehow we've come together at this point in time.
Right.
And now that we are together, we are that village. And I know it does take a village sometimes to get things accomplished. And so I have learned to be more open, that I don't have to do everything by myself. And I've learned to ask for help. And so when we talk about intention, let's also talk about that belonging. And if we don't have it, what can we do to have it? And being together every morning like this, Don, to me, you're sensei. And I got to go to a lot of karate classes while my granddaughter was in karate phase. And it was always profound to me, the idea, the respect given to the sensei. And so I think everybody here has to go back and be a sensei. And there's a lot of pieces we talked about, but whatever did, we'll use the word resonate, whatever did stick. Maybe if you start with just that one thing. And Mother Teresa said, you don't try and help everybody at one time. You reach for the person nearest you. And it may just be just listening, not fixing. I've been a fixer my whole life, and it's not a good look. So there's that.
Wow.
My thought.
So many wonderful things I could say there. I know we're coming to the top of the hour, but I am one of the things that I do want to go off of that definitely hit me. There were several things, but one was our youth. And you likely don't know this. I'm a mentor for an at-risk youth program here in Phoenix.
Good.
And I have a 16-year-old that I mentor. And just all of these kids, people, I mean, I honestly cannot tell you enough. It's gut-wrenching how many of the kids that I have seen that are, and I'm talking 13 to 17 is the
Yes.
basic age range. There are some younger, and how
Mhm.
many of them openly will talk about contemplating suicide and
Yeah.
do suffer loneliness. Their only companions are their freaking phones.
Yep.
And I say that 'cause it just frustrates me so much that they are being so stripped of even understanding what human connection is.
Yes.
And, and then just to play on the fixer with my youth, because I thought, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, when I was first matched, I thought, because she's been through more things than any single human being should ever go through in their life, let alone a child.
Yes.
And I thought, well, I don't know that I'm good enough for that. So my little trigger went off. Um, but my whole point of that is the only thing that she needs from me is to be present, to
Yes.
listen, and to show her love.
Oh,
And that's it. And I it just goes for everyone. So my intention was, and I guess for everyone to take away, if we
yeah.
want to help change anything, and that's why I got involved, because I'm like, we need to help our youth. And I wanted to get back involved and live purposefully in that intention, because it is so important, and it's hard to see when you see it, but in that little bit of time that I can be present
Mhm.
and show love is everything to me. I mean, I feel like I get more out of it
Always.
in the long run. And same from here. I leave more energized than I was when I came, and I always feel like it's this giant virtual hug upon us.
Right. 'Cause you go, "It's not just me, I'm not crazy." I'm like, "Is
Right.
this me?" I'm like, "No, I'm
No,
losing
I think
it."
both of you are just beautiful souls, and if I could have done it by myself, I couldn't, because after doing it all by myself, it lasted 8 or 9 minutes. There was no feedback, so in a way, you start finding ways to make yourself better by being with better people or same like-minded people.
Mhm.
And Kelly's taught me so much. Anytime you're
Oh,
part of 2 or 3, that's what you are, a part of it, not separate from
mhm.
it. And everybody gets to pick and choose what everybody's got to provide that day. And
Yeah.
when you have 40 people who then
Right.
meet up afterwards and talk some more or get on other people's programs, I mean, what works for other people will work for you if you work with them. Right? And if you get somebody successful, first of all, you learn how they got there. You'll be a part of their success. So you're successful. Your part could have made the difference for them, right? And maybe you're only getting 5% royalty now, and eventually you'll get the 100%. But isn't the journey and the knowledge of what you're gaining every day worth that day? Too many people, they carry around, an accounts receivable with them from everybody else, right? And they're wondering who's keeping current, who's not
Yeah.
following up.
Right.
They're majoring in the minors instead of, at a certain point, what used to be scary looks silly when
Yeah.
you look at it. You know,
Right. Right,
when
right.
you just know better and you know what you're dealing with, you say, how silly this is. That person would
Right.
actually think I would fall for that, or I'm not, whatever it is. Then what you find is when you got 40 lives, can you imagine the stories, the educations,
That's
the
right.
different ways that everybody was educated? The smartest people are the ones who typically learned on the street, learned on their own,
That's
learned to
right.
be aware, learned to be capable, And I think if you're coming from adversity, you've got a benefit. If you haven't had it, you've got a benefit. And if
Mhm.
everybody starts with a benefit of knowledge, experience, or the avoidance of things that weren't so good, that's a good record to have. You don't shouldn't jump into a bad thing just to feel it. You can.
That's
That's why
right.
learning from others is so important. What Kelly does, and that's really the key.
Yes.
Eventually, it's the showing, not the telling. So many people have gotten good at telling, selling, manipulating, and
Mhm.
they're doing everything, and their intention is to make a lot of money,
Mhm.
think of themselves first. Then out of 900 million people, there's a good percentage that will gravitate there, and they should, because that's where they belong with each other, doing what they're doing to each other with each other,
Yes, right.
you know? And if you're going for the positive, and why wouldn't you? If someone said the next hour could be happy or sad, what are you going to choose? And if you
That's
say
right.
happy and you don't know what's going on or what to do, plug into the next event.
Mhm.
Go to Kelly and Christie's event. Go to
Yeah.
Gretchen's event. They're all good people. They all have good intent. right? You can't just go to the Mayo Clinic and say, if I can't get this doctor, I'm going home, right? You're lucky to get whatever they give you half the time. So I know we're past the hour, but I love when we have these pairings that
Uh-huh. Thank you,
everybody
Kelly.
fits and everybody starts right. I know
Mhm.
like Christy and Harvey, have that chemistry and that harmony, and that's what I'm looking to do is pair people up, get
Mhm.
people on, like Kelly says, experience it for yourself. And if you've been in the audience, you've experienced it vicariously through so many shows and everybody. And believe me, I will make sure nothing bad happens to you. I mean, and me and Kelly act mostly like, as bookends now,
Yes.
just to promote and support the person in the middle. Uh, and
It's
if
a
you
nice sandwich.
Yeah, no, and the thing is everybody sees the smiles we have,
Yes.
the awareness we're giving, our reactions when people say something important to us,
Mhm.
because we're part of the sharing, and that's what it should be. So, anyways, going on and on and on. With that said, tomorrow we've got Christy with Harvey, and
Yay.
then Saturday we have Leslie. And the people who support us will be supported, and everybody else should support them too. It's
Right.
important,
That's right.
Yeah.
So, anyways, final words, if you have any, Rita.
I choose to be happy. So
Okay.
that's my number one intent all the time.
And my wrap up will be my usual to everyone. First of all, thanks for joining us, but go
Yes.
out into the world and shine so bright that
Right.
others can't help but shine too.
That's
Well, I
perfect.
can't thank you for making my hour the best hour of the day, and I can't get enough of it. I wish there were more hours. We could do 2 of these a day. So, with that said, see
Yeah.
you all tomorrow. Bye for
Bye-bye,
now.
everybody.